There is a place on Earth where time stopped. A Soviet Atlantis, consumed not by water, but by the invisible fire of the atom. But on the morning of April 25, 1986, Pripyat was not a ghost town. It was a paradise, a closed city built for the elite scientists of the Soviet Union. It was the future. Less than 3 kilometers away stood the Vladimir I. Lenin nuclear power plant. Its 4 RBMK, 1,000 reactors were the pride of the state. They were powerful, they were massive, and, according to the manuals, they were impossible to destroy. It began with a safety test. Ironically, the disaster was caused by an experiment designed to make the plant safer. The engineers wanted to see if the spinning inertia of a turbine could power water pumps during a blackout. But the test was delayed by 10 hours. The reactor sat at half power for too long. Inside the core, an invisible poison was building up, xenon-135. In a healthy reactor, uranium burns to create heat, but it also creates xenon, which absorbs neutrons, essentially suffocating the reaction. Usually, full power burns the xenon away, but at low power, the xenon accumulates. It is a chokehold on the core. By midnight, the reactor had stalled. It was poisoned out. To fight the xenon and get the power back up for the test, the operators made a fatal choice. They pulled the control rods out. Not just a few, almost all of them. They had turned the reactor into a loaded gun with the safety off. But they had one more enemy, a positive void coefficient. In Western reactors, if water turns to steam, the reaction slows down. In the Soviet RBMK, the opposite happens. Steam bubbles, or voids, increase reactivity. More steam meant more power. More power meant more steam. A loop of destruction. 1:23 and 40 seconds a.m. The test begins. The pumps slow down. The water turns to steam. The power spikes instantly. Supervisor Akimov screams to shut it down. He presses AZ-5, the emergency scram button. This should have dropped all control rods to stop the reaction. But the RBMK had a fatal design flaw, kept secret even from the operators. The tips of the boron control rods were made of graphite. Graphite accelerates reactivity. So, for the first few seconds of entering the core, the rods didn't stop the reaction, they supercharged it. The AZ-5 button was not a brake. It was a detonator. 1:23 and 45 seconds a.m. The lid of the reactor, weighing 1,000 tons, was thrown into the air like a coin. The first explosion was steam. The second, moments later, was hydrogen. The core was open. The air above the plant glowed with Cherenkov radiation, a terrifying violet beacon visible for miles. The first on the scene were the firefighters of Watch No. 2, led by Lieutenant Vladimir Pravik. They were told it was a simple roof fire. They wore no protective gear, just canvas jackets. Among them was Vasily Ignatenko. As they climbed the rubble, they kicked aside chunks of black mineral. They didn't know it was graphite from the reactor core, emitting 3,000 rankins per hour. Survivors recalled a metallic taste in their mouths, like sucking on a battery. This was radioactive iodine and ozone. It was the taste of death. By morning, Ignatenko and his men were vomiting uncontrollably. Their skin had begun to turn black. The fire was out, but the danger was escalating. Beneath the smoldering reactor sat a pool of water meant for cooling. Above it, the corium, molten nuclear fuel, was melting through the floor. If the lava hit the water, it would trigger a thermal explosion of up to 4 megatons. It would level Minsk, render Ukraine uninhabitable for centuries, and poison Europe. 3 men volunteered to dive into the radioactive basement to open the sluice gates and drain the water. Alexei Ananenko, Valery Bezpolov, and Boris Baranov. History often calls this a suicide mission. Myth says they died days later. This is false. They survived the dive. 2 of them are still alive today. But in that moment, they walked into the dark knowing they might never walk out. They saved half of Europe. Finally, the roof had to be cleared to build the containment structure. Robots failed, their electronics fried by the radiation. So the Soviets used biorobots. Men, 3,828 soldiers. They were given 90 seconds. Run out. Shovel a piece of graphite over the ledge. Run back. For 90 seconds of work, they absorbed a lifetime's dose of radiation. It took 600,000 liquidators to clean up the mess. The official Soviet death toll was 31. The real number may never be known. Today, the exclusion zone is a wildlife sanctuary. Wolves and bears roam where scientists once dreamed. Chernobyl remains a monument to two things: the terrifying cost of lies and the boundless capacity of human sacrifice. The atom does not forgive mistakes, but human beings, they pay the price.